You're a homeschool mom, and maybe this is your first year, or maybe you're actually coming into your second year, and you just feel still overwhelmed. Hi, I'm Nancy Marie Peterson, and I've been on this mothering journey for a lot of years, and I've actually been in the education field way before that. And I just want to spend a few minutes encouraging you on this journey of homeschooling. So if you've decided to homeschool, or maybe this is your second year and you're like, oh my word, am I going to try this again? I want to tell you that yes, you can. I want to give you a few tips that helped me, and I want to just share a few encouraging words to kind of catapult you on this journey. Some tips to do is when you start your new homeschooling year, or you're starting to homeschool for the first time, just find a curriculum that's pretty basic and just start a little bit slower. Start with a basic curriculum that makes sense to you and that you can carry out. The teaching program, I always buy the teacher manuals most of the time. The teacher manual makes sense to you, and you know what you can follow through with. The lesson plans look doable, and it just kind of fits with your flow. So the first thing, pick out a curriculum that's doable. The second thing is pick out a schedule. Like, what is your schedule going to look like? So if you think of your whole week, when are you going to start schooling? What subjects are you going to start teaching first? So we always start with Bible, so start with Bible first, and just kind of write out your map of your day. So when I have multiple kids, is how do I homeschool multiple kids? What do I do with the little ones? What I'm doing the older ones? So I would maybe do some of those intense lessons where my kids needed me to sit down and teach them when my babies were napping. Or I would do it more in the early mornings when the babies were happy or the toddlers were happily playing. Or sometimes when I was giving one child a lesson, I would have the other child play with the toddler and sing songs or nursery or read them a book. So I would try to balance what makes sense, and I would write that in the calendar. Write that in the schedule. So if I was working with Isabel and Wyatt math at this time, then I would know Abigail was doing this, and I would kind of know where everybody was. So I would just kind of pencil. It was flexible, but I would just kind of pencil. So you start with your curriculum, you start with your schedule, and then you have to plan your normal life around that. So somehow meals have to be made, somehow the dishes have to be washed, laundry has to be done, cooking and cleaning. So often we go into our homeschooling year and we just think it's going to fit, and we haven't figured out how it's going to fit. So you need to stop and figure out when am I going to get these things done if I'm homeschooling now? So you might have to get up earlier, you might have to stay up later, your Saturdays might look different, your kids might have to pick up more, which is important, they should, but you just have to figure out the flow of it. So I meal prepped more on Fridays. And so Sundays, I would prep for the whole week of the school. So Sundays, I would sit down Sunday nights and I would go through each child, and they had a folder, and I would put all their worksheets in it and the different books that we were going to do. So I prepped for my school week on Sundays, and I would prep for my meals during the week. So I would do one day shopping, and then I would prep my meals for the rest of the week. And so you have to prepare your life around homeschooling. If you just jump in homeschool and you think everything's going to work, it's going to collide on you, and you're going to feel overwhelmed and you're going to quit. So I want you to think of those tips. Think of your curriculum and how it works. Think of your schedule, and think of your normal responsibilities that you have to do and how you're going to implement that into your thing. And I want to also attack the concept of outside activities. So when you think of co-ops or sports or whatever the activity is outside the home, is you need to really assess, does this fit our flow this year? So we did the co-op we did a homeschool kind of a co-op at our YMCA. We did swim lessons so my kids learned how to swim. And it worked for us for a season, but as my kids, we traveled to Mexico and we served here on the mission base, and there was none of that opportunity. So I can tell you, whether you join a co-op or not, your kids will be fine. It's not the most important thing. What's more important is does it fit in your schedule? Does it bring sanity to your home? Or is it one more thing that's going to tip you over? So as you break down your school year, as you begin this journey, you figure out your curriculum, you figure out your schedule, you figure out how you're going to get all that extra stuff done that has to be required. And then make sure your outside activities outside the home fit in your schedule. You will have a way better, more successful homeschool year because you've pre-planned, you've pre-arranged, you've pre-thought out what it's going to look like and how it's going to work. So those are kind of my tips of how we kind of survived the homeschooling journey, and I want to just share encouragement. So I am entering my 20th year of homeschooling, and I cannot really believe it. I've actually been in the education field for probably 35 years. I started my journey as a preschool teacher, and then I worked at a Montessori school, and then I got my education degree, and then I got my master's, and then I became a teacher, and then I became a homeschooling mom. And so I've been on this journey in different little avenues of it. But I think what was most shocking for me as a homeschooling mom, that the value was so important, the bond that happened with me and my children. So that bond that was united, that they could trust me. I was there for everything. I taught them what they needed to know spiritually, in the science world, in the writing world, in the reading world, in the math world. So I was their main source of wisdom. And that just carries on as they grow up, because 5 of my kids have already grown up and have graduated, and they still come back to me with questions of wisdom. And the most coolest part is that we really do have a bond, and I'm able to get wisdom from them now. It's kind of reciprocal in this journey of ours as they grow older, and they've become some of my closest friends that I talk to, and we do walks together, and it just really, they challenge me by how they live their life. But that really happened because I said yes to homeschooling. So I want to encourage you. This homeschooling journey is it's bigger than what you can imagine. It is this engulfment of a family that is deep and penetrates deep into your innermost beings, and it bonds you and it connects you, and it just helps them to know how much you love them, because every single day you sacrifice for them, every single day you invest in them, every single day you pour into them, and you will reap that. It will come back hundreds fold. I can tell you, you reap what you sow. When you sow into your family, and you sow into their education, and you sow into their spiritual lives, you will reap that. So I want you to stay the course. I want you to be encouraged. I want you to come up with a plan, and I want you to know the why of this homeschooling journey, because it is a calling. It is something that really will make a deep connection in your family. So I hope I've given you a few tips. I hope I've encouraged you, and I hope that you are on a journey, and in this journey you found joy, and you found Christ, and you have lathered yourself in His grace, because you're going to need that, because you're going to mess up, you're going to make mistakes, you're going to pick the wrong curriculum, and you're going to respond the wrong way, you're going to get frustrated, but God's grace will cover you, and He will provide everything you need. So stick with it. Get pre-planned as you enter this new school year, and just go at it with gusto. So as always, stay intentional, and I will see you in the next video. If this has helped you, please pass this on to other mothers, subscribe, and be a part of this journey as we enter this experience of motherhood, and we do it with intentionality. All right, see you next time. Bye.